this gentleman passed away a few years ago at the age of 71. He left to mourn fans from across North America. He was considered by some kind of the forgotten defenseman of the 1970s, even though he put up some good numbers, consistent numbers for numerous teams. Darryl Edestrand, born November 6, 1945 in Strathroy, Ontario, came to major prominence in the 1964 season, playing with the London Nationals of the OHA B squad, with 45 points that season, including 15 goals and 144 minutes in penalties. Now, he played with the Toronto Marlies of the OHA in 65, then with the London Nationals of the OHA in 1966. Now, he remained undrafted, but 24 points for the Nationals, and skated with the Rochester Americans of the IAHL in 66. Now, he had 7 games with Rochester in 67 and eventually made it to the NHL in 1968 as a St. Louis Blues prospect with 12 games. Now, he played with Kansas City that year, 34 points in 53 games, including 2 goals. Now, he became a Philadelphia Flyers prospect, and in 1969 he played with the Quebec Aces on one of the best AHL teams of the late 60s, putting up 30 points in 74 games. He had 2 games with the Flyers that year. 1970, again with the Aces, he had 40 points in 71 games. Now, he eventually found his way to the Pittsburgh organization and spent 1 year in Hershey, 36 points in 72 games in 71. His rookie season with Pittsburgh, technically his rookie season, 33 points, big 33 points in 77 games with 10 goals. And then the breakout year where he made the front cover of a lot of the hockey magazines and newspapers, 39 points in 78 games, including 15 goals. And then the big break came. In 1974, he found his way to Boston and was part of that strong team that made to the Stanley Cup Final against the Flyers. He had 11 points in 52 regular season games and 3 points in 16 playoff contests. 75, another full season with the Bruins. 10 points in 68 games as kind of their number 4, number 5 defenseman. And in 76, again, another strong year, 21 points in 77 games. 77 was a little bit of deception. He went back to Rochester for most of the season. He had 17 points in 42 games, stayed with them for the playoffs, but did play 17 games with the big club. But by 1978, unfortunately, he found himself outside of Boston in a very controversial move by a lot of his fans in New England. He ended up with the LA Kings in 78. Now, he played a part of a full season with LA in 79, but of course injuries and different problems were there. Last season in the NHL, he had 5 points in 55 games, and in 1980 with the Binghamton Dusters of the AHL, he put up 20 points in 57 games. Now, what's really weird about Darryl, everybody felt that he was going to be have that big breakthrough year after 1973. But the thing is, over almost a dozen NHL seasons, always knocking at the door. He could have easily been a number 4 defenseman, but bad luck and injuries. St. Louis took a chance on him. Flyers took a look at him. Pittsburgh obviously needed him with that early side where Pittsburgh was finally making postseasons in the early 70s. But with Boston, I mean, he solidified a defense that lost Bobby Orr. He was sort of a combination of a stay-at-home defenseman, showed a little bit of offense every once in a while. But when I saw him playing with the LA Kings, I figured, hey, this is a very big breakthrough. There's going to be good times for him in future, and it didn't work out. Unfortunately, he died in Toronto, Ontario, October 8, 2017. He, like I said, left a lot of good people and good fans. And I just want to read a little bit. I don't do this very often. And the idea of losing somebody like that, like a very well-respected player, is hard for a lot of people to deal with. The obituary, I read a few obituaries about Darryl, and most of them had mentioned the fact was that his time with Boston, he made a lot of good fans. Now, again, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the obituary because I think it's important. A little bit more background. Let's see here. Okay. He's a fodder coach and player, as how we remember him. His life was robust. Hockey was his first passion, and playing the NHL was his prize. To the fans who cheered him for him throughout his playing career, thank you. To his former teammates and friends off the ice, thank you for being a part of his life and ours for so many years. Now, he left his children, Darren and Leanne, and several grandchildren, and again several nieces, nephews, and cousins left to mourn. And Darryl's style, 5'11" and 180. And playing for the Major Midgets program as well, made a lot of contacts in Ontario, which led. Now this is another thing I want to bring up. Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens should have took a chance on this guy. I think it would have paid off, but that's just my opinion. So again, final NHL totals: 34 goals, 90 assists, 124 points, 455 games, and in the playoffs, 12 points, 3 goals, and 42 contests. But again, I watched Darryl play. He would often play against Montreal, Hockey Night Canada, against Toronto. I remember a Pittsburgh-Vancouver game where we had some really heavy battles with some of Vancouver's up-and-coming players. Again, he was a hard worker. That's one thing I want to say about him. I saw him skate miles. And you know something, a very handsome guy. And to my knowledge, I could be wrong here, he was such a nice-looking man. He would stand out in the ice, no pun intended. And I think there was a game against the Russians. I think he played against them. Am I losing it here? There was some important game he was there, and the fans said that's the longtime pro, the hard-working pro Darryl Edestrand, and that's why I'm doing this podcast. I have big respect for Darryl Edestrand because we were kids. We would always talk about the playoffs and what players Montreal and Toronto could get for the playoff run, even in the 70s. And Darryl Edestrand always came up. And we figured as soon as Darryl showed up in LA, they were going to get a breakthrough, but, it didn't work out. Go figure. So there it goes. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And we're kind of centering on the Boston Bruins podcast because there's a lot to do, because a lot of lost Bruins from the 70s. And each one of them after 72, they could have easily won 2 or 3 cups, but a certain team with a CH on the front stopped them. So anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.